Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros. And this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast. We're just a couple of brothers who love playing games and love talking about games, and we have our whole lives like many others, I'm sure. We wanted to start a podcast where we discuss games that we've played together and separately, games that we love, and maybe even some that we hate. We're just looking for like-minded people to share our gaming experiences with and basically just discuss and have a good time.
That's right. So, for our first episode, we would love to talk about a game that started one of our favorite genres of all time. As we're sure many feel the same, love for Batman and his lore, the comics, the movies, the shows, the games, all that was pushed forward, I would argue, by Batman Arkham Asylum. It was a revolutionary step forward for Batman and hero gaming in general. We may discuss some games about Batman in other episodes. However, today we wanted to focus on what we believe changed not only the course of Batman games for the future, but action in general. Unlike most other Batman games, Arkham Asylum is based on the comics rather than Batman the Animated Series or other media. It's arguably the Arkham game that makes you feel the most like Batman, delving into the dark and gritty world DC Comics created in Arkham Asylum. Rocksteady Studios made a huge splash in the gaming world with this single game, giving them the pedigree they still hold today. We are discussing what made Batman Arkham Asylum the epitome of great superhero games. Although the game has been out for over a decade now, we would still like to issue a minor spoiler warning for those who don't know what happens.
We necessarily weren't even too big of comic book fans before we played this game.
I mean, we liked the animated shows,
Yeah,
you know.
We like the animated shows, the animated movies, stuff like that. And I guess like the Dark Knight series.
Oh, of course.
At least the first two.
Is that called the Dark Knight series?
Dark Knight trilogy.
Is that? It's weird how it's given the name of the second movie as the trilogy. Wouldn't like if Batman Begins was the best movie, would we call it the Batman Begins trilogy?
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? That's just because you're a Joker fan.
That is correct. No, I think, yeah, like only the first two were out, I think, when Arkham came out. Mm-hmm. But even then, like, it was like, I liked them because they were Batman movies, but I wasn't as into it until after Arkham Asylum. And that's like, it was after that we actually seriously started reading comics and delving into the lore, because there were a lot of people introduced in this game that we didn't know when we played the game.
Yeah, I was thinking about like the character bios and some characters that we really didn't know. Yeah. And one that came to mind was Prometheus. And still today, I'm not really sure what his whole deal is. I mean, like, I've learned a little bit about it, but he hasn't been in any of the games or any shows or anything like that.
Yeah, no, he's only ever been in comics. But we can talk about Prometheus later. So, first off, you know, the setting, Arkham Asylum,
yes,
which is one of the most iconic locations in comic book history. I don't even think necessarily just Batman history.
Right.
I don't know if there is like a set layout to Arkham specifically other than this game.
Right, before the game came out, I didn't know that Arkham was an island. I thought it was just like a prison in Gotham. So did you like the island? Did you think it was well designed?
Oh, absolutely. Like everything on it fit to me. Mm-hmm. Like there wasn't anything there that I was like, man, what is this about? Like, why is this here? You know, like nothing to me felt like it was there because like Rocksteady thought, oh, we're making a video game. We want this to happen, so this has to be here. Right. You know, like there was nothing like that.
Right. Everything there had a purpose.
Everything had a purpose. All the locations were really well done, really eerie. I hated, like, when we had first played through this game, I don't even think it was the initial playthrough. I think it was after Arkham City had come out, I went back to play through Arkham Asylum. And that was the first time I think I actually did everything in the game. And I just always felt so creeped out going through those buildings. Because after you beat the game, no one's there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just like, basically like the whole island, there's like almost no one there. And it's just such a creepy atmosphere. And I hated doing it.
I agree. The atmosphere of Arkham Asylum is the creepiest of all the Arkham games. But I felt like the creepy factor was when there was crazy people running around and you don't know when you're going to get attacked. And so when you don't know what you're walking into, that's when I thought it was creepy.
Yeah.
When I was at the end of the game and running around getting the Riddler trophies and stuff like that, I'm sprinting through every building, flinging open doors. As you know, I'm not afraid of anything because I know nothing's there.
Yeah. You kind of brought up a good point of it being kind of mysterious, because none of the other Arkham games were mysterious, because, especially like after playing this one, getting so much into Batman, I knew the areas. Like, obviously, I didn't have them mapped down to the detail like the video games had them, but like I knew all those places. Like, none of them, like Amusement Mile and
Ace Chemicals,
like all that. Like, I didn't see any of those and be like, oh, what's this? Like, I was always like, oh yeah, this place. You know, this was the first, really the only one of this series that it was like, I don't know, like everything to me was like, yeah, I guess it's a prison. Prison would have this. This is like
right.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the size?
I thought it was good for what it was.
I mean, you know, over a decade ago, it was. Yeah, I felt like it was considered bigger when it came out.
Yeah, it was really one of the first open world, if you can call it open world, games that.
It's open world.
Yeah, it was really one of the first open world games that, I don't know about you, but like I had ever played.
Mm-hmm.
So it was definitely like cool to me, that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the riddles really helped with that. You would just like learn a little bit about each place you were at, and there were Easter eggs everywhere in that game too, because it was so densely packed. Yeah. So you really didn't have like a lot of open, you know, a lot of space with nothing really in it. There's always something to see. Like,
with the exception of maybe the Predator rooms, like those were more open, but even then, like everything was very cramped feeling.
Yeah, I definitely would describe it as alive, for sure.
Yeah. To me, obviously, always as important as the setting, the people in it. Mm-hmm. This game, like we said before, it was there were so many characters that we did not know about before we had played this game. Mm-hmm. A lot of characters, especially like just a lot of Batman's rogues gallery, present in this game, even for a short amount of time, or not even necessarily being on screen themselves. But
there's references.
Yeah. The voice acting was done very well. Mm-hmm. It had at least 3 returning actors from the Batman animated series, which we grew up, not as it came out watching, of course, but like we grew up with like episodes of that whenever it would come on, and Justice League and stuff, which all used kind of those same voice actors.
Yes, they were all kind of the same, right?
Yeah.
Who's the third you're referring to? Tara?
No. Tara Strong was not Harley Quinn in this game.
What?
Oh.
But she was in City?
Yeah, no, City was her first Harley Quinn performance.
First ever?
Yeah. No, the person who
was in the animated series? I thought it was Tara.
No, in the animated series, I did look into this because I knew it was someone different, but I could never remember her name. But initially when Harley was created, because she was created for the animated series,
right?
She was based on, like the creator said, Arlene Sorkin, who was a actress, most famous for doing like the soap operas. Mm-hmm. And Arlene Sorkin is actually the one who voiced Harley initially. All throughout Batman the Animated Series, the Justice League shows, and this was her last time voicing Harley. Well, no, I think Arlene Sorkin also voiced her in DC Universe Online. But one of those 2 was her last.
Right. We also don't know if it's her in the Harley Quinn show that's going on right now. It is not. Who is it?
I do not know, but I looked it up, and it was
just to be sure. Okay, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, which actually no offense to Tara Strong because I think she is phenomenal. Arlene
course.
Sorkin is my favorite Harley.
I feel like I'd have to hear them like really close together, because to me, whenever I heard Tara Strong, I'm like, yeah, that's Harley.
Oh, I could tell it was different. I didn't know it was a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, I just thought maybe it was just someone like she was doing the voice differently,
Changing it for a more mature adaptation.
Not necessarily more mature, but just like different.
But I mean, like, I would say like the Joker's personality in the Arkham series is different than his personality in the animated series.
Oh, well,
even though
100%.
his voice is the same.
Yeah.
But I think we can agree that Kevin Conroy is Batman.
Yes, Kevin Conroy. Not the only person who has voiced Batman.
Well, but I mean, Kevin's just the iconic.
You know, he is by far the best in my opinion.
Of course. We
He's-
might be biased, but I feel
Yeah.
like most people would agree. I don't quote me on this, but I do believe they say that he was the first to do to differentiate voices for Bruce Wayne and Batman.
I think he was, because I think he was the first like voice actor to do Batman. Like, I don't think there was a voiced Batman game or cartoon before the animated series. There was,
If there is, we don't know about it.
yeah, there was obviously the Adam West show,
Right.
and then there was
Look, I'm not gonna sit here and shit on Adam West.
Well, no,
I
Adam
love
West is
Adam
great.
West. Rest in peace.
Adam West is great. Just like it isn't
It's
a
not the
voice.
same.
Well, it's not the same, and it wasn't a voice. I'm just saying,
Right,
like
of
live
course.
action. And then there was the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher films.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I would
that's
say
true.
maybe Val Kilmer, who was Batman Forever.
Mm-hmm.
I think he probably the most differentiated, but I don't know if he specifically did that, or maybe it was something that they added after.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that might have come out after the animated series had started. I don't know the exact dates for those.
Right. So getting back to the topic, we have our protagonists in Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
They're pretty short-handed, right?
Yeah, no,
They're-
really, the only one... I mean, obviously, Batman is the only one that you actually play as.
Right, of course.
There's Gordon.
Yes.
James Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yep,
Yes.
always-
You can't have a Batman without a Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know who the voice actor who voiced Jim Gordon is in this game, but definitely was able to keep on par with the rest of them.
Yeah, I
in
wouldn't
terms of,
say he has like a really iconic voice actor. It's really almost a different person every time, right?
Yeah, like it's not even the same person throughout the entire Arkham series.
right,
Like
right.
it honestly might even be a different person in every game. I'm not entirely sure. I just know in Arkham Knight it's a different person.
Mm-hmm. Read my fun fact.
Which one?
The one about Jim.
James Gordon, who initially visits Arkham to oversee the Joker's return, is captured by the supervillain twice during the game and held hostage.
That's what I'm saying. The protagonists in this game were so little that they had to have 2 hostage scenes where Jim
With the
Gordon
same-
was
with the-
captured
with the-
twice.
We're the same dude.
I'm like, how
Yeah,
did this
I
man
remember-
become commissioner?
I remember playing that being so like, because you rescue him the first time and you send him on a boat back to Gotham. Like, he's gone. He's off the island.
right.
So I'm like, at what point of this did he end up back on Arkham? Like, did he... Because the whole thing there is like Joker has like a bunch of bombs in Gotham that's like he's
Right.
using that to
Yeah, I
keep cops from
remember.
coming to Arkham, and Batman is like, oh Jim, you got to go
Go
like,
take
you need-
care of that.
yeah.
I got this.
And then so I'm like, did he even make it to Gotham? Did like they
stop
defuse-
his
yeah,
boat?
Yeah, like did they stop the boat? Did he make it? He like went through all the bombs and he was like, oh, I'm gonna go back and help Batman, and got captured. Then what happened here?
Well, see, it depends. His boat's going, and it's
Yeah.
Bane's hand comes out of the water and grabs him. Sometimes it's Killer Crocs, and sometimes it's Scarecrow.
Yeah, that's how that went.
But I just thought that was funny, right?
yeah.
I'm like,
oh
really,
no,
they
it was,
did not have enough characters to be like, oh man, they might kill,
like there was
somebody.
only one other person with any sort of importance that was taken hostage.
Mm-hmm. Talk about the other one.
Of course, Barbara Gordon,
Mhm.
Oracle.
Yes.
she, as always, she provides intelligence on basically everything Batman needs. Like the layout of the island, what's going on in Gotham. She's obviously concerned keeping track because her dad's there.
Right. So it was interesting, right? Because having her as Oracle puts her in the post The Killing Joke.
Yeah.
Which is a very interesting universe to start your game in.
Yeah. It was also, I don't remember exactly, but I think this game was the first experience we ever had with Oracle.
Really?
I can't remember beforehand knowing anything about that, because the only other thing I can remember her being in as Oracle other than comics is DC Universe Online, and we played that after this.
Right. Yeah, this might have been like the first thing that made us look up, like, who is Oracle? Why is she in a wheelchair?
Well, I think it's. I mean, we knew it was Barbara because they said it. Like they mentioned it in the game. Like I think at first it was him talking to Oracle, and we were like, "Who is this person?" And then at some point, he called her Barbara or mentioned Jim, and she said
that's
Dad.
like how they don't explain things; they just call people by name. Like when they start calling Dick Grayson Agent 37 or whatever he was, and it's like people who didn't know.
Oh, it's even like that's not even necessarily maybe even that, but the character bios. Like she had a character bio that might have explained it as well.
Of course.
Either way, if this was our first experience with Oracle or not, it was I think it is a very good character.
Oh yeah, of course.
Especially just her, like, after being paralyzed, she does this, and she is like a super hacker. She can find like information on basically anything.
Right. Yeah, she was definitely helpful. I was surprised. I had to look up and double check that Alfred was not a part of Arkham Asylum.
No, he is not at all.
Which I think is so weird, because after Arkham Asylum, I feel like in both City and Night and Origins, Alfred's your main guy, and Oracle's kind of like on the side a little bit.
That is... Yeah, Alfred really becomes your main point of contact. Obviously, like, in Arkham Origins, it's because Oracle doesn't exist yet.
Right, of course.
Yeah, in Arkham City, you definitely talk to Alfred more than you talk to Oracle.
Right.
And in Arkham Knight, I mean, he's always there.
Yep. I just thought that was interesting. I thought, like, oh, it's Alfred. That was a precedent set in the first game, and that's how I remember it. But look, when I was researching it, I'm like, oh, he didn't even have a voice. Yeah,
like, I think he had a character bio.
He did.
And that's it. Like, I don't even know if he was ever even mentioned in dialogue at all.
Right. Really weird to leave out Alfred.
Yeah.
So, after you talk about the protagonist, you, of course, have to talk about the antagonist.
Lot more antagonists than protagonists in
Batman's
this game.
Rogues Gallery is notoriously one of the biggest in all superhero.
That is correct. So, first off, obviously, main bad guy, we got the Joker.
The Joker, the best.
Yes. Brought to life, of course, by none other than Mark Hamill, who is the best Joker voice actor.
Undoubtedly. Well, he is the best, but there's other good ones.
Oh, there are a lot of good ones.
Troy Baker's rendition has got to be the closest to Mark Hamill's. Yeah,
but I think there are other voice actors for the Joker that I like more than his portrayal because they're different.
Oh yeah, completely. Yeah. Like I agree with that. There are other good ones.
Oh yeah.
I just feel like Troy Baker's is the same energy as Mark Hamill's, just not as iconic yet. Yeah. He might get there one day.
It just, to me, it really even speaks to how iconic Mark Hamill's is, because there have been a lot of voice actors for the Joker.
Oh yeah.
Like, at least I would say like it's in like the double digits of people who have voiced him in different things. But like everyone just thinks of Mark Hamill.
Right.
My favorite comic book character of all time. The Arkham series is definitely, I think, probably I would rate his best appearance.
Really? Over the animated series?
I liked him in the
Are you talking about the character or Mark Hamill?
No, the character.
Oh, okay.
Like the Joker with his story. His performance specifically, I guess I do like the animated series more just because there's more depth, more variety with how he acts in that than in the game.
Well, I mean, as the games go on, let's be honest, you get more and more Joker in each game.
Oh, yeah.
In Arkham Asylum, the whole game revolves around him. He starts the story, he starts the riot in the asylum, and the whole objective is to put him and everybody else back in their cells.
Yep.
And he always has, like, plot on top of plot on top of plot that you're uncovering throughout the game. Like, oh, it's not just a breakout, he's also messing with this stuff over here.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I thought the Arkham series did so well, was in every game, Joker may just, like, get one over on him.
Right.
Like, sometimes, like, more than one, but it's always, like, the one thing of, like, you don't realize until way later or anything like that. That's basically, like, what he does in all of the Arkham games. Is he kind of makes it something that's so obvious. It's like, once you realize it, like, you play through the games again, then it's like, instantly you're like, oh man, I can't believe I didn't notice that.
Right.
And
right, the foreshadowing and all of the mentions towards it, and you're like, oh, how did I miss that?
Yeah.
So, alongside the Joker, of course, you're going to have Harley Quinn.
Of course.
Who we've already discussed a little bit. Was introduced in the animated series.
Yep. A former psychiatrist who fell in love with the Joker when he was her patient at Arkham.
Amazing backstory.
It was, the backstory came in a comic issue called Mad Love, which was drawn in the style of the animated series. And eventually that story was adapted in the new Batman Adventures, which was just kind of like an updated version of the animated series.
Right.
And that comic was released as an episode, and it's just very well
I was going to say, I thought I remembered watching it in the animated series.
Yeah, it was in there, but I had always thought that the animated series did it. But it's actually
so she just, like, appears one day as Joker's sidekick, and then, like, way down the line, they're like, oh, here's her origins. So, what purpose does she serve in Arkham? In Asylum?
In Asylum, she, through whatever happened before the story began, she basically, like, broke into the system. She got access to the security and basically had control over the entire island for a large majority of the game.
That's true, yeah. She was, like, in the control room, and she'd be, like, the one who opened cells and be like, get them, boys, and then, like, 6 thugs come out and they're like, oh, all right, beat them up. And then you go into the next room and she does it again, right? Yeah,
and she was also just a hostage holder. Like,
she
initially was the one who had Jim hostage, and you have to rescue him from her. And then later, Warden Sharp is held hostage by her, and you have to rescue him.
You know, she was you don't fight her, really.
No.
But she was a necessary addition to the game, right? Because she was the buffer between us and Joker. Because if she wasn't there, it would just be Joker the entire time, and we would have got really tired of that really fast.
Yeah, she's definitely a very good, not necessarily like counter, but a very good like check to the Joker. Keeps it from being like too much, I guess.
Yeah, they really complement each other.
Yeah, like obviously the Joker's the big bad one, but she's like the top henchman, and
she's the right hand man.
Yeah,
she's the number 2. You're like, I gotta take her down before the Joker.
Yeah.
Right, so then we have the more side characters that don't play the main roles.
Yeah.
You don't really see them in the game as much.
Yeah.
Who do you want to talk about first?
Well, first, I think, talk about them maybe the way that they appear.
Okay.
At least there's, like, maybe sections of game. First, which is, like, right after the start of the game, you encounter Victor Zsasz.
Victor Zsasz.
Yes. Who has a guard hostage in an electric chair.
Yes, this is where we were introduced to Victor Zsasz.
We had no idea who Victor Zsasz was before this, and this, to this day, remains my favorite interpretation of Victor Zsasz.
Of course. It was, to say the least, terrifying.
Yes. And I don't know the voice actor who portrayed him in this series. He's just done so well. He's like definitely comes across as like insane, as creepy, and like he's definitely he very much comes across as just an unsettling psychopath, which is, I mean, basically that's just what he is.
Right. And I feel like, you see him in a few other things, But almost in everything else he shows in, he comes off more like Goofy.
Yeah.
He's not really like the same.
Yeah.
In this, he's creepy, he's scary. I'm like, I don't want to be anywhere near that guy.
Yeah.
That being said, the interaction with him is over in like a minute, maybe two. You know.
Yeah. It's first time you encounter him with the guards, like he's just kind of yelling things, and then you sneak around him and take him down. The second time he's holding Dr. Young hostage,
right.
And you hit him with a batarang and he's down, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's not in the game again after that.
Right.
But he was still such a memorable character, reading the bios and the interviews and everything, that being in the game so much, he just always stood out to me. It was so weird going back and playing the game like a few years after the first time we had beaten it, because he was one of the characters that I was just like, oh, I remember, like, he was so cool in that game. That, like, it shocked me, like, when I realized, like, how little he is in the game.
Right.
Because it was
He's
just such
barely in it.
Yeah, such a big, memorable character that was in such a small part of the game.
Right, but you have to talk about it, because it's almost like when I remember Arkham Asylum, I remember Zaz.
Yeah.
I remember, like, there's the big moments I remember, and he's one of them, even though it's not really, like, a big moment. After him, we have the Scarecrow. Old Dr. Jonathan Crane, who everybody knows uses fear toxin to drive people insane, I guess is his goal.
Yeah, basically, he shows them their fears, and they just go crazy. Like, that was, honestly, like, despite all the things I've seen him in, I don't know what his end goal is.
Yeah, he never really, even like, when he's the big bad in Night, he accomplishes his end goal.
Well, in Night, you mean, in Arkham Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing where, like his whole thing there was just he wanted to take Batman down. Yeah. But, like, in this game, he was just kind of there. Like, in his last appearance, he's like, oh, I'm gonna, like, put fear toxin in the sewers so, like, all of Gotham's water is tainted with fear. But even then, that to me is one of those things that's just kind of, like, just seemed kind of thrown in there that I was like, well, that
what
seemed...
Is that in Asylum?
His whole plot. Yeah, because that's what leads you down to the sewers eventually, as you follow him there.
Okay, right.
And, like, to me, that was the one thing that I was like, okay, that's just kind of a way to help you get down there, or like whatever.
But the way they introduce him in the game is pure genius.
Very iconic and very, very good.
Good. It was terrifying.
It was absolutely terrifying.
Because you're just playing along, and all of a sudden, you're in the morgue. And then you try to leave, and you're back in the morgue, and you're like, what the hell's going on? And you try to leave again, and you're back in the morgue.
It was super, super creepy. And I mean, I remember because it's right after you find Jim Gordon dead.
Right.
And you're like, oh, we failed.
Right.
And then there are, like, bugs crawling on the walls, which I remember specifically just being not a fan of bugs myself, noticing that, being like, man, I don't like that. I don't like that detail.
Yeah, I would just be like, it's an old asylum.
Yeah.
Bugs on the walls. Yeah. I try to, explain everything I'm seeing.
And it's even, like, going back, like, you see the moment when he gets infected with the gas.
Mm-hmm.
A little thing of, like, just, like, you're walking through an area, and then, like, Batman, like, coughs, like, once or twice, and that's it. That's the moment.
Right.
Where it's, like, the gas affects him, and it's, like, especially going through the first time, you don't notice that.
No, of course.
Because it's just out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And
it starts taking effect slowly.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like, boom, nightmare visions.
Yeah.
It's obviously toxin. You're like, oh, he coughed a little bit, and now we're running to our objective. We gotta go do the next thing.
Yeah. And then, like you said, you're in the morgue, can't leave. And then there are 3 bodies, like 3 body bags in the center of the morgue.
Right.
And then you open, like, the first one, and it's your dead dad.
Right.
Then your dead mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember playing through this, I was terrified, because I had, like, the fact of Scarecrow being in the game, like, that didn't even cross my mind at all. Like,
even at that point.
Like, you knew he was in the game, because, like, right before then, you encounter, like, the gas, like, people, like, in a room being affected by his gas.
Mm-hmm.
And I assumed, you would just find him and fight him or something,
Yeah, right.
Very straightforward.
I
And-
always assumed he'd be like a monologue before he did something, like,
Yeah.
oh, I've caught you in this room, Batman, now I'm gonna fill it with gas.
Yeah, you open the third body bag and he just pops out and stabs you with his little Freddy Krueger syringe
Yes,
claw.
is that like a regular thing he has, or was this the first iteration of that?
It was the first that I'm aware of.
Yeah, genius.
Everything else, it was just a gas.
Right.
You know, it wasn't a liquid drug-like substance.
Right, it wasn't an injection.
Yeah. Then you go through the platforming section, which is just really, really cool.
Like visually, the whole thing was amazing. You fight the skeletons, and he's trying to swing at you, and it was just great.
Yeah, and then the second time was still just absolutely shocking of when that popped up, just so unexpected, because it's such a random moment, because it's like the first time, and I think even the third time you encounter him, there's a hint of it beforehand, but then that time it's like literally you're just going through the Arkham Mansion, you're walking through this hallway, and then all of a sudden the hallway gets longer, and then all of a sudden it's raining in the hallway,
right,
and then all of a sudden you're 8 again, and then you're outside, and then you're at your parents' dead bodies, and just out of nowhere. To me, I think that second one might be my favorite kind of introduction into Scarecrow of the three. Just because the whole like Batman ending up at his parents' bodies and like encountering him again. And this one, obviously like it's different. They build on it more. So it's not just the same thing. And I can't think from the first one, but it obviously has to happen. You end up, climbing higher and higher to get to the bat signal to like overpower the fear toxin. And once you do it, you're like at the top of the bell tower of the mansion. So it's like, while you're going through this fake world, Batman is actually going through the real world to get there. The second time specifically, where you do, I believe, fight a small amount of enemies, and you end up in the bell tower, and you're just, like, you climb up, and then you're actually in the bell tower, and I'm like, well, holy crap, like, what? It just made me so curious to be like, what actually happened? Like, what was he going through? Like, what was that whole situation?
Like, what was Scarecrow seeing?
Yeah, like, what was, like, what would a not crazy Batman see? Then, the third one, which, I say I like the second one best, but it's, like, really close with this one because of just how cool it was. Where you're walking through, trying to get to, Killer Croc's lair, and then the game glitches. And then it goes back to the first, like, opening cutscene of the game. But, obviously a little different.
Right.
And it's just
But you have that moment where you're like, what just happened? Why am I back at the beginning?
Yeah, like, I've heard so many stories of people, like, freaking out, like, turning their systems off, doing this, doing that, because they thought that the game had actually messed up. Which, to me, just was such a cool thing on Rocksteady, because the whole, like, Scarecrow's whole thing is fear. And it's like, it's one thing to make Batman afraid, but literally, they're making the players afraid because they think their game is messing up. And that's just the worst thing, like, especially, like, you've been playing for a while and just your game screws up.
Right.
Worst thing ever for a gamer.
Of course. Yeah, it was these iconic moments and the iconic moments and the iconic moments that really made Arkham Asylum what it is to me, And, if you're cool with me skipping ahead to this. One of my most iconic boss fights is when you go down into the sewer and you come across Killer Croc. And first of all, this man is not... You can't really describe him as a human crocodile anymore. He's like a gigantic monster crocodile thing.
Yeah.
And the... Rocksteady continues to... They continue to amaze me with these creative uses of the Rogues Gallery.
Yeah.
And because there's water and tunnels of water, there's one in each direction with planks of wood that are floating. And you have a device that can measure the vibrations from your footsteps.
Yeah, because Killer Croc, like real crocodiles, can sense the vibrations in the water. It's one of the ways that they track prey.
Exactly.
And so you have to move slowly to avoid him popping out at you.
Right. This was terrifying for me.
It was absolutely...
I was constantly holding right on my stick to continuously spin and look down every hallway as I was moving along.
Yeah, I mean, the first time we even played through this game, I didn't even play this part. I refused to play it because I was like, I can't handle this. It's too scary. It's too much pressure. I was just freaking out.
Right.
And it was just so well done. And it's even even no matter how many times I've played that game, which I've played Arkham Asylum like at least 3-4 times, every time I get to that point, it's the same thing. Like still that same like not to as high a degree, but I was still like always that same pressure, like, oh man, this guy's coming, he's coming.
Right, you always feel like that. You feel like he's right under you, he's about to jump up. I just remember that so well because he's introduced with Cash.
Yeah, he's introduced. Really, he is getting super technical, I guess. He's the second villain introduced in the game because you see him like just getting out of an elevator as you're taking Joker into like the maximum security area.
Right. And he's all chained up with a collar on and stuff like that. And at this point, Cash does have his hook.
Yeah.
And from reading the bios and listening to the audio tapes, you learn that Cash has that hook because Croc ate his hand.
Yeah. Basically, it was an escape attempt, and he just ate his hand.
Right.
And
but we'll talk about Cash a little bit later.
Yeah.
Right.
But that really, to me, that whole thing just shows, like, just how animalistic he is. Because he used to be just a normal dude. Like, it was like a disease, basically, he had that, like, made him more animalistic.
Or was he tested on? I don't... I'm not really...
I think in Arkham, it was like just he had a disease that just made him like some... I wouldn't say disease, maybe like just a mutation. Just something like that. That it's just so iconic to me of like... Before this game, I think the only interaction we had with Killer Croc was from The Batman. The show The Batman, where in that he literally is just like he's basically just like a walking crocodile. He has that more like kind of like crocodile like snout face,
right?
He talks like he's from the bayou, and he's more crocodile than man, like a lot, really. Like this, like that to me, like I don't know if his backstory is ever explained in the Batman. But that to me is like a crocodile experimented on becoming super intelligent kind of character. But in this game, it's a dude and a croc like that is somehow like basically turning into a human crocodile hybrid. And
right, in Asylum, he's like in the beginning, like not the beginning, but like the mid process of turning into the crocodile. I mean, like, by night, he's like a gigantic, weird-looking thing.
You know, if you count, like, origins to Asylum/City to night, like, you can see that huge kind of, like, transition he's going through. And as he's becoming, like, less man, more crocodile. And I think this is very much, like you said, it's a very good midpoint of that transformation.
Yeah, next we can talk about the most lackluster boss fight.
Oh, of course, Bane.
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 They did him dirty.
They really did him dirty in Arkham Asylum, Arkham City he's in, and then Arkham Origins did him right.
Yeah, I did. Bane was like my favorite part of Arkham Origins.
Yeah, that's what Bane is, because I feel like both from the animated series, at least from what I can't remember him that well in the animated series, honestly. But this and like Batman and Robin were our two experiences with Bane.
Yeah.
So I always thought he was just mindless, brute, venom strength guy.
Right.
But getting into the comics and seeing other versions of him, and especially like the Arkham Origins version, and really just reading Nightfall.
Yes, I was going to say
which Nightfall. We did after this game, was you don't realize just how smart of a dude he is. Like, he is a really smart guy. Like, he
was the first guy to beat Batman.
Yeah, he beat Batman. In Nightfall, he like he breaks everyone out of Arkham, so Batman has to, because he knows Batman's going to try to capture them all, and he's going to get him like more exhausted and more tired.
Mm-hmm.
He figures out who Batman is. Like, that's something that is never talked about in this, which is weird because in Arkham Origins he knows who he is. Like, that is a part of the story of him like figuring out who Batman is.
Mm-hmm.
But in this, like, it's never brought up. It's like he knows who Batman is. He is just a really smart, and not in this game.
No.
In this game, he is basically just another Titan boss.
Yeah, the Titan henchmen you'll meet. They're regular henchmen injected with Titan, and they become big and they charge at you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
How do you beat them? Is it stunning them?
You like basically it's like you throw a batarang at them when they're charging and then they run into a wall.
Right.
You can also I believe use your cape stun and then hit them a bit, and then they kind of have 3 bars of health, and once you get them down, you can jump on them and ride them around, make them hit people.
Right.
With Bane, it's at those moments where you jump on him and cut one of his venom supply tubes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He appears in this game very shortly. He was being used by Dr. Young. She was basically sucking the venom out of him to make Titan, which was just a more potent dose of venom. And then, he's super mad. Joker, pumps him back up full of venom, so he's super strong. You fight him in a rodeo, and then you hit him with your car, and that's it.
Mm.
That is his entire existence in that game.
Right. It's depressing. It is.
Really
There's really not much to say about him in it.
Yeah. I remember the first time we played that game thinking, man, that is so cool. Because of just how little we knew of Bane. To me, that's what Bane was.
It was cool to see him.
Yeah,
I'm glad he was in it, but it could have been done better.
Yeah, it could have been done a lot better.
So, one thing that the Batman Rogues Gallery does really well is, they breathe life into their villains. Mm-hmm. They make them really human.
Yeah.
And, you feel bad for a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
Like your Mr. Freezes. Mm-hmm. And I'm bringing that up because I felt bad for Poison Ivy that she was the only one who was still stuck in her cage.
Oh, before Harley let her out?
Before Harley frees her, she's in her thing, and I'm like, Poison Ivy's always just been, caring about plants. She doesn't, she's not, really evil. Yeah, no, she's just a super extreme environmentalist. Yeah, and I feel bad for that. Yeah, it's that's what she was. She was just, an environmentalist, and then that eventually led to her situation of becoming Poison Ivy. Mm-hmm. And it's just all she wants to do is make plants safe, I suppose. Yeah, and it just happens to be from humans. It's a real world issue. Yeah. Environmentalist. Yeah. But her ideal of exterminating humans is really not where you want to go with it. That's where we have the problem with her. Yeah, it takes it a bit to the extreme. Yeah, but she is the villain who is usually the first to step up and help Batman when there's a real problem. She's when their intentions align. Yeah, I'll say it like that. Yeah, she's definitely one of the least villains in his Rogues Gallery. So, as far as Poison Ivy's journey in this game, she does have a boss fight. Yeah, it's basically just you're fighting waves of enemies. I'd call that a boss fight. Yeah. In this series, it's kind of a boss fight. So she does. Yeah, it's really, her whole story in this game. Basically, she gets out, Harley lets her out, and then she just ends up in the botanical gardens just because she wants to care for the plants. Mm-hmm. Joker gives her Titan or gives the plants Titan. I don't know. It's kind of weird. And then the plants just take over all of Arkham. And, this is one of the reasons that, Arkham closes down and Arkham City even happens because the island's covered in plants. Yeah, they really were plants. Very forward thinking. Yeah. And it was a cool scene to watch the plants take over the island. Then, you have to go take her down because the plants are destroying everything and killing people. Mm-hmm. And she ends up in this giant plant thing that shoots spores at you, and I believe you fight waves of enemies, and then you have to throw
batarangs at her when the shield thing opens,
Mm-hmm.
and then once you like stun her, you have to use the explosive gel and blow it up.
Yeah.
Pretty simple, straightforward boss fight. It can definitely be difficult because she does have some attacks where like all but one section of the floor gets like caught up in vines. And
Yes, I do believe I did struggle with it.
Yeah, the first time we went through it, we definitely struggled. Spent a long time fighting her.
Mm-hmm. It was standard.
Standard.
There was nothing really special about it.
Nothing special about it, but it's still like it's memorable, I guess.
It
like
was
I think
Poison
about
Ivy.
it. Yeah, I think about it when I think of that game.
You know, it's really what she can do.
Yeah,
and what
like
she does and
not,
everything.
Yeah, like she's not in some canon more than others. She's more of a fighter, but in this especially, like she's not really a fighter. You know, she's more of a just have other people do things for her.
Right. So that's about as far as the boss fights go.
Yeah, I mean, really just the villains, all the ones that actually appear in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So with the side characters in this game, there's a few important ones. First off, there's Quincy Sharp, who is the warden of Arkham. He really, to me, becomes more important in the next game, because in this one, he's just the warden. He gets kidnapped. He's kind of an asshole, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's his whole purpose in this game. Not exactly his whole purpose, but basically it. He's just the warden. I don't know, there's nothing special about him in this game. I do think he was created for this game. I don't think he was a pre-existing character.
Really?
I'm 90% sure on that. He was memorable. He was a memorable character.
Yeah.
And like I said,
he felt like a warden.
Yeah.
To me.
Oh yeah.
You know?
He definitely had
he
that.
was all like, he had a cane.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm the warden.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it. I'm here for this.
He's like a stereotypical old prison warden.
Right.
And like I said, he is more important in the next game, but in this one, he's
minor.
He's minor. And then we talked earlier about Cash. He's just a guard. In my opinion, one of the most useless characters. Everything he does is just get captured,
right,
and beat up.
That's most of the characters in this game, though.
Yeah, but he's like, whenever you talk to him, he's always sounds so confident and tough, and it's like I want to root for him. I'm like, you go, Cash, you do what you're doing. But it's like he got his hand bitten off by Croc, and in this game alone, it's like you rescue him from like poison gas, and he's like, oh, I'm gonna go to the mansion and do this. You rescue him from the mansion, and that's it. Like you just like everything that he says, like whenever he says, I'm gonna go do this, you have to rescue him later because of him doing that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time. And I'm like, dude can't be that good at his job, I guess.
Right. And then there's Dr. Young.
Yeah. Dr. Young. She created Titan, was paid by Joker unknowing to her.
So she thought it was just like a
Joker
person. Like
Joker used an alias named, I think it was Jack White.
Uh-huh.
And, basically paid her money for the research. I don't know if it's because she found out it was Joker or just because she grew a conscience, but she began to have second thoughts. And that was one of the reasons that Joker let himself be captured and this whole game happened, was because he wanted the Titan that she made because he paid her a lot of money for it. Yeah, that whole thing eventually leads to her death.
Right, and he didn't want his whole plan to fall apart. He'd been working on it forever.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, I gotta get captured.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that, like, from the beginning of the game, you're like, oh, he let himself get captured to let everyone out of Arkham and be chaotic.
Yeah.
But no, he always has, like, something of his going on underneath.
Yeah, there's always more to what he's doing than you would think
Mm-hmm.
at first glance. He wanted to trap Batman. Also, this was, like, just his big test for Titan, and just him wanting to get Titan.
Right.
She dies. I thought she was memorable. Like, I liked her as a character. She wasn't a good person. I just thought she fit that kind of like doing bad things, but kind of like doing bad things for what she thinks are good reasons. Like kind of like hoping that the end justifies the means. And then, she just dies. I don't know. That's it.
How did she die?
In the warden's office in the mansion after you rescue her from Zaz. I believe
It explodes.
It explodes. Right? The safe explodes, but I think the reason she was going in there was because the security codes to the island were in the safe. And then there's like a face on it. It blows up, and she's dead. And then like never mentioned again.
Yeah, I really didn't feel like she was that memorable. I felt like, you know, she's any side doctor in any media ever. You know, just so forgettable to me.
Yeah, I liked her. Like she's really like a big story.
Yeah, I mean, if she had
device.
if she had a redemption arc and gave a little more depth, then maybe well, she could have some potential.
Yeah, like that's what really like.
If they made her the Arkham Knight.
Oh, that would have been cool.
That would have been cool.
Way cooler than what they did.
Way cooler than what they did. But that's for another episode.
No, she
I should be working at Rocksteady. Shit. I'm like, tell me that's not a great idea.
Yeah, her whole like I was the first time we played through the game, I was so shocked she died because I thought she was going to get that arc.
Right.
Like when she was like, oh, like talking to Batman, like wanting to help him and stuff. I'm like, okay, so she's gonna like help us the rest of the game, and then she died, and that was it.
Right. Oh, yep. So that's about enough on the characters, right?
Such a wasted potential of her.
Wasted potential. Oh, they could have done that. That would have blown my mind. So we can't talk about Arkham Asylum being a revolutionary game without talking about the combat.
Really, all of the gameplay.
All of the gameplay, but I mean, like the part that was most revolutionary to game this type of action adventure game in general was the combat. The method of a group of enemies, square and you're punching around, triangle is the counter when something flashes above their head, circle is a stun, that, you know, X's are evades, that has been copied and pasted to so many other franchises after that.
Building a combo and stuff. Yeah, this was definitely, they made their own combat system for this game.
They did.
And it worked very, very well.
Yeah, it was damn near perfect.
Oh, yeah. And even, like, in this game, it was damn near perfect. And then they perfected it in their future games.
Of course.
The game has, like, that level, like, XP level up system. And you can upgrade different things, whether it's gadgets, health, predator abilities, combat stuff. And I think the level system was done very well. It definitely like felt progressive. It felt like Batman was learning as the game was going on, like actually learning kind of how to deal with new things. Something that I think this game does very well. Of like when you encounter new enemies or new scenarios, usually like you would unlock skills that apply directly to those.
Right.
And that to me was something like, oh, like this is like, yeah, it's Batman. Like he didn't know how to deal with this, but now he does.
See, the combat to me was revolutionary because it solved the Assassin's Creed problem of counter kill. You know, this guy's attacking me, I press circle and stop his blade, and then press square and just one shot kill him. Where is the difficulty? In Assassin's Creed, like 1, 2, you can fight hundreds of guys with no sweat, and you're not worried. And
really, Assassin's Creed is even easier than that because it's counter kill, kill.
Right.
Because the second you get a killing blow on one guy, anytime you press the attack button directed at another person, you automatically kill them.
Right.
And with Assassin's Creed, it's they attack you one at a time, so you're not going to deal with too much on that.
Right, and Rocksteady perfected the formula of being able to take on multiple people and feel like it's challenging.
Yeah.
Because it is. It is very hard. You have to learn it. It's a process. Yeah. Especially when multiple enemy types are thrown in there. When you have regular guys, you have knife wielders, stun batons, you've got titans and psych ward patients. It's just a lot.
They do a really good job of progressively introducing more enemy types and keeping it concise to the point of, one, you don't get any like kind of, oh, this is kind of a ridiculous enemy. Why is this a thing?
Right.
And it keeps it just from being overwhelming of like, oh, in this fight you have to deal with 12 different enemy types that all have to be, dealt with in different ways, which can become very annoying, very tedious.
Yeah.
And this game very much avoids that.
Right, but I mean, like, when you get to late game and you do have all the different enemy types in one fight, and you've had all your experience of taking them out, and you're like, okay, I know to stun the baton ones, dodge the knife ones, throw the batarang at the titans, and you're doing all that fluidly. You feel like an expert.
Oh, yeah.
And that's just a great feeling to have while you're learning as Batman is learning throughout this process.
Yeah.
Just an excellent system.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like you mentioned the different enemy types. There's the psych ward patients who are just insane. Really, they're the only ones who are kind of like, you have to counter kill. That's just how it works.
Yeah. I don't even think there's a second button to kill. It's just you counter their attack.
Well, you counter, you throw them on the ground, and then you have to do a ground takedown. And then there are the Titan thugs, which...
Same as Bane.
Same as Bane. You throw a batarang at them, you dodge them, you stun them.
Bane, but one health bar.
Climb up on them, and just they swing wildly and hit everything in their path. There's also, in this game, another thing that the combat had was the use of gadgets in combat, which...
Oh, that's right.
Was, definitely very, I would say, revolutionary. It's not really a big thing, and...
yeah, not a lot of other games incorporate their tools into their fighting.
Yeah, it's very much like... You have your tools when you're doing this. You have your fighting stuff when you're fighting. It's this game was the first, at least in my experience, that the things you had to get around and solve puzzles, things like that, also could be used in combat to take down enemies.
Right.
And
for instance, the grappling hook, right? Yeah. That's the best example.
Yeah.
And it was the easiest. It had a quick input, and you just attach to somebody, pull them towards you, and slam them down. Yeah, really,
the grapple to me, I guess, is the better example of the two, because in this game there are two gadgets you can use in combat. Yeah. There's the batarang and the grapple, which the batarang, you use to hit switches and things like that, but Batman uses the batarang to hit people. So that being in combat is it's still an extra thing, but it's
it's a staple.
Okay, yeah, it's a staple. You would expect that. But I never once expected going into fighting and shooting the bat claw at a guy and pulling him towards you. I never expected that would be a thing.
Yeah, it was definitely cool.
Yeah.
And how they count towards your combo instead of dropping your combo with tools and stuff like that.
That is very...
They did a really good job of, you have to get hit or not hit somebody after so long for your combo to drop.
Yeah.
So on the other half of gameplay on the other half of combat is the stealth, the Predator.
Yeah, the Predator instances.
Yeah. Now this is Batman.
This is Batman.
It always reminds me of Batman Year One when he's in that house. How many times have we seen a Batman movie where he's in some rickety old house and there's a bunch of guys with guns and flashlights looking for him, and he's taking them out one by one.
Oh, yeah.
Whether they're cops or thugs, whatever. It's happened many a times.
Yeah. This game, really just perfected that, honestly. They didn't really change too much to the overall style of the Predator maps in the future games. They added kind of more enemy stuff, but they
more
didn't...
takedown, stuff like that. They didn't change the core of it. They just added to it.
Yeah, and because it just worked so well with the use of, detective mode, which, we haven't talked about that. That's a big part of the game, just being able to see enemies, enemies that have guns and...
Highlighted, what are they called? Grates?
Yeah, stuff the grates, highlighting the important things.
Gargoyles?
Yeah. And going back to the whole Batman learning things of after you do the first Predator encounter, you unlock the ability to do to hang down from the gargoyles, which is just the coolest thing. I love doing so much. And then the inverted takedown, where you just come down, pull a guy up, which is just the coolest thing that I always want to do forever. Taking guys down and hanging them there, and the fact that the other inmates will react when they see them there, and they'll be like, "Whoa, how'd you get up there?" They'll it was just so cool, and the kind of building fear of the enemies, because you could see their heartbeats and everything in detective mode, and just seeing them go from walking around when they don't know you're there, being "Oh yeah, we see Batman, we'll take him out," to being just absolutely terrified out of their minds is just one of the coolest experiences.
It's excellent. It just makes you feel like Batman. It's so immersive.
Yeah.
Perfect system.
Yeah. And then, there's the standard just silent takedown, which is just cool because it's like, one, it does take time to do. Like, it takes time to choke a dude into unconsciousness.
Right.
Someone could walk and see you while you're doing it, which is just that hidden extra thing. Makes you feel so just cool.
Right. I'll tell you what is not good in the Predator maps, though, is when you do get spotted and you get gunned down.
Oh, yeah.
That does not make me feel like Batman.
Yeah, it is. It is so annoying.
Because then you realize, like, if they do see you and you're like, oh, yeah, they have a gun and I'm just standing here.
Oh, yeah. And I never feel more ridiculous than when you get spotted and you go up into the gargoyles and you're just going back and forth between all of them until they lose you.
And they're like, where'd he go? And you're like, all right, back to square one.
Yeah. And it's just it's also just funny to me. Just the one thing I would say, like, that is funny about the map and stuff like that is just the fact that so many of these rooms just have gargoyles in them for some reason. Which in the future games they actually fix that because they replace the gargoyles with stuff that more fit in the environment. Like, it's not like just gargoyles every time.
Yeah, that's true.
But this game, it was just always gargoyles.
Yeah, it was a nice aesthetic for the island, and the island is old.
It was a nice aesthetic, but I've never seen gargoyles in buildings. Usually they're on the outside of buildings. I know. But, it's Arkham Asylum. It's a weird place. Amadeus Arkham was crazy. Yeah, that is accurate.
So, yeah, that's about as far as the Predator maps go, right?
Yeah. And then,
so that's one villain we forgot to mention.
Oh, of course. He's not physically in the game. You don't see him. That's what I mean.
That's true. You're right.
But
I forgot. I was thinking of the Arkham City.
Yeah. One of Batman's most iconic villains, I feel like, the Riddler, does have a pretty big part in this game,
That's
actually.
True. Best performance, Jim Carrey.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
This
the
was
only
not
live action, right?
That is... Yes.
Yes, the only live action
performance of the Riddler. I think the Adam West TV series had the Riddler in it. In this game, you have basically the collectibles of this game, the Riddler challenges. There are 5 different types. The Riddler trophies, which are just hidden around wherever.
Yes, tedious and annoying. But
I never thought of it that way. It was like there were never any.
Really? I got that way about like halfway through them. Or like at the end of the game when I'm going back through, then I'm like, ugh, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But as you're going through and you're like, oh, a Riddler trophy.
Yeah.
And you're like, I can get that. And you grapple it or something, then you feel good about it.
Yeah, in this game, there is a lot. There's a total of 240 Riddler challenges.
And that's the lowest.
That is the lowest.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's the trophies, which I think like in the game, it's like Riddler hired people, like Riddler's goons hid them around. Right. It wasn't him doing it, which just is such a small thing he mentions. But I'm like that. Look, I'm glad he does because it makes it just such a more conceivable thing than like picturing the Riddler just crawling through vents, being like, put this here.
Look, as far as henchmaning goes, being like a Joker henchman or a Two-Face henchman, doesn't sound, as easy as being a Riddler henchman. If all I have to do is go put these trophies in places.
Oh, yeah. Especially because, like, you're working for Two-Face or the Joker or any of them. They might shoot you tomorrow.
Right.
They might torture you tomorrow. You don't know what's coming.
I'm not even sure the Riddler's ever actually killed anybody himself in the Arkham
No,
series.
Because all the people that he sets up in death traps you save.
That's true. Yes, he attempts a lot of murder.
He attempts it a lot.
That's true. I think the most brutal version of the Riddler I've seen was from the Batman Telltale series. That version of the Riddler was pretty brutal.
I didn't play that. Season 2, right?
Season 2.
Yeah, I did not.
That was a good iteration.
2. So other than trophies, you have the riddles, which the riddles to me is just one of the coolest, most inventive concepts in games ever.
I loved it
because one, just the way it works in the game is just so fascinating. Like you have to have the thing that you're supposed to scan
in frame.
You have to have it in frame. You have to have it like centered, pretty much.
It has to be angled right.
It has to be. It can't be too small. It can't be too big. It can't be obscured.
Right.
And then you have to scan it. Just to me, like all the coding, designing that went into that must have been a lot of work.
Oh yeah, of course.
And my favorite riddle Well, one, the riddles are basically the source of a lot of the references to the other Rogues Gallery members.
Right, of course.
In every game, all the riddles are references to something in like Batman or DC Comics lore.
Mm-hmm. That's what makes them. That's what gives them another layer.
Yeah, they're all really cool
interesting,
for
right.
that reason. Yeah. And then in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, I don't know about Arkham Knight. I honestly can't remember because that's the game I played the least in the series. There are the best I can say are the alignment puzzles, which are really, to me, so cool. There's a question mark split in two parts that you can only see in detective mode, and basically you have to line the two parts up by standing in a very specific spot and line it up so it has to be aligned correctly. They can't be too far apart. They can't be too close together. All of that, and you scan it, and that's that. And that to me was just probably one of the coolest things, just figuring those out.
Right. Yeah, the riddles were always interesting.
But the riddles were always interesting. They were always fun.
Yeah, and I liked the concept of like one riddle per room.
Yeah,
you know,
usually,
like you go into a room
that,
and it'd be like, here's the riddle for this room,
yeah.
So you know like the general area of where it is. And the Easter eggs were cool because you had like the Ra's al Ghul's corpse in the morgue, and then later it's gone, you know, and that's so cool. It's just a really nice way to throw nods to these characters that you didn't have time to put in this game, and also have a fun mechanic that gives the Riddler depth. You know?
Yeah. There's also the Joker teeth, which
I forgot about the Joker teeth.
Yeah, you find them in groups of 2 or 3. Super annoying. They're just teeth chattering on the ground. You have to destroy them with your batarang. In each outdoor area, there's 10. In each indoor area, there's 20.
Yeah, there's not too many of those.
No, there's more destructibles in future games, but those are also more varied. But, this was the first. I don't know, to me, they're just there. Like, nothing special about them. Definitely, I guess, my least favorite. Then there's the 2 most interesting, to me, the interview tapes, which, each area has 5. And it's a different person in the Rogues Gallery. Usually it's the villains featured in the game. And it's just letting you know more about kind of how they work in this universe.
It really, I think it humanizes them.
Yeah.
Because they're sitting and having conversations, where they're not like threatening people. They're not like, I'm going to get you, Batman. Yeah. And you really find out a lot about them through that. And it's more interesting than just reading bios.
Yeah. And it's also, like, they're all their own little stories.
They are, yeah.
For example, like Zaz, he is interviewing with this one psychologist, and he starts talking about, like, her home and stuff, and she gets creeped out, and, like, he gets transferred to another one. And then in the last one, it's like the doctor is waiting for him, and then, like, a guard's like, oh, he escaped, and, we just want to make sure you're safe. And she's like, oh, my God, he's going after the other doctor, and, like, calls that doctor, and someone knocks on her door like as they're talking to her, and it's just super stressful to listen to.
It is.
And then Harley's is the story of Harley and Joker.
Yes.
So they're all like just these little stories that are really just neat and interesting to listen to.
They are for sure. They definitely, they're memorable, and they added to the whole experience of the game.
Yeah, they did. And then last were the Chronicles of Arkham. Now this is the only important part about Quincy Sharp in the game, which is, basically you find these, they're like little gravestone kind of like things on walls with like a spider symbol. You scan them like riddles, and there's 40, I think, and each one just reveals more about the story of Amadeus Arkham, which I found very interesting.
I found mildly interesting. I mean, they say that the spirit of Amadeus Arkham still haunts Arkham Asylum, and Quincy Sharp believes he is the reincarnation of Amadeus Arkham.
Yeah, but it's just interesting learning just his story of, like, finding the asylum, and then just, like, his slow descent into madness, pretty much. And then, you find the first 39 or however much, and then the last one, you have to go back to the the main prison area. I can't think of what it's called.
Penitentiary?
Yeah, the penitentiary. And to where you told him to stay there, and he's gone, and just like this symbol is drawn on the floor, and you scan it, and that's when he's like, I am the spirit of Amadeus Arkham. And to me, it just added so much to a character who was just such a nothing character without it. Like, to me, without that, he's just the warden. It's like his whole existence is, it's a jail. I guess there's a warden there, so we gotta make somebody. That to me was like his whole existence before the Arkham thing existed.
Right. I don't know. I just thought it was weird.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. I'm glad it was put in. It wasn't as good as the tapes or the riddles to me.
Yeah, I guess it's a kind of back and forth thing.
Like the tapes to me were like, I was surprised to have them in the game, like a mechanic like that where you're learning and you have to find them. I really like that. And it was about the characters I was already knowledgeable on and invested in. Whereas Amadeus Arkham, I really, didn't understand anything about. He's not really involved in Batman. And Quincy Sharp, those two together, like, yes, it added more to both. But to me, it doesn't make them like, I'm not going to be like, oh, if it doesn't have Amadeus Arkham and Quincy Sharp, it's not Arkham Asylum. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think to me it was more just world building.
I do appreciate world building.
Just more lore. It just added a lot. I guess the only thing that I would say is about it is that it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I thought, when that happened, like when it's like revealed it's Sharp and stuff, that would come up at some point in time. But no, like it was just a thing. It was like a cool thing, but in the end, it just went nowhere. Speaking of Quincy Sharp, Easter eggs. There aren't really a lot of Easter eggs in this game. I don't count. Yeah, there are a lot of references, but like, the references to the other members of the Rose Gallery, like Catwoman and Penguin and all that, to me, they're just the references. They're not Easter eggs because they serve a purpose in the game.
Right.
So to me, that is very against the definition of an Easter egg.
Easter eggs are hidden. You have to find them.
Yeah. But this game did have what is quite possibly one of the most iconic Easter eggs of all time.
Of course.
Which is the hidden room in Warden Sharp's office, which hinted at Arkham City because Rocksteady started working on Arkham City before Arkham Asylum was even released. Right. They were very confident in it, I suppose.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah. So, they had concept art. They had, like, the blueprint map of Arkham City, and they placed that in the secret room, which you can only access by, at this certain point of the wall, putting 3 explosive gel charges and blowing them up. It was very well hidden. It was never discovered, really.
I was going to ask, was it?
Not really.
Developers came out?
The developers came out, because I looked into it, and it was like, they put it in, and they wanted to see, like, how long it would take people to discover it. And, like, so the developers, they looked at, like, forums and stuff to see when it would be mentioned. And after 6 months, when no one had found it, employees revealed, not exactly where to find it, but they revealed the existence of it in a podcast, and it was found quickly after that. I could not find an exact time frame on the announcement to it being discovered, but it was not long after.
Yeah, to be fair, it's such a specific way to open that wall. Like, I knew what to do, and I tried it in my game, and I tried it like 10 times and couldn't get it to work.
Yeah, like, I don't know if the placement has to be super specific, or if there's even just like an aspect of luck in there, but it's certainly like, it's one of those Easter eggs that even knowing how to do it, it's not something you can just be like, oh, hey, look, here it is, it's done. It takes a few minutes just to get the explosions lined up right. But, very iconic, hinted at the next game, very cool. And that's really the big one for this game. There aren't a lot of others that I could find. Others, I guess, worth mentioning. There's the Arkham Care website. When going through the medical facility, every once in a while those announcements come on.
Right.
And one of them mentions, like, ArkhamCare.com, www or not, whatever. And for a while, not anymore, but for a while, that was an actual website you could go to. And it had, like, information on Arkham Asylum and stuff. Kind of like a brochure-ish type of thing, because it was a bit of a tourist attraction as well, I suppose. So, that's a thing. And there's another Easter egg that is very interesting to me because I did not know of its existence until I was looking up Easter eggs. I
had the same experience. I saw that, and I'm like, I never noticed.
You see, I never noticed, and I could not find anything, like any video or anything to verify its existence, except it was mentioned on 2 different websites that it existed, so I'm like, well, it's got to exist. But in the visitor center, which is where you go for, like, the big final fight with Joker, there are, a bunch of Joker mannequins, I believe. And specifically one of them has, like, the TV over the head, which later, like, there's a video of Joker talking, playing. He takes the TV, like, stands up, takes the TV out of his head, and it's like, oh my god, it's the Joker. Supposedly, when looking at this mannequin, if you look away and look back, the arms change position, which is just kind of like a hint of, like, oh man, that's the Joker, because, like, it's not a mannequin because the arms are moving. Which I'm sure many people seeing initially might have just thought it's like one of those creepy, oh, the mannequin moves when you look away kind of thing.
Right.
But it's also like kind of a hint that, oh man, it actually is Joker.
Yeah, I never thought that. I never discovered that. I just thought, like, it was a Joker statue. And then the last time it's just like, oh, now he's fucking with us because it's him.
Yeah.
And he moved the statue or something like that.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I wanted to mention something else. In Arkham Knight, Jason Todd is the...
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Arkham Knight. Did you find this? Yeah, the cell.
I didn't know how legitimate that was as an actual Easter egg because I don't know how far they planned the story.
Yeah, I don't know how far it is as a legitimate Easter egg, but I mean, they at least reference that cell.
Yeah.
In Arkham Knight.
Yeah, which basically...
Because that's the only place he could have been.
Yeah, which basically, in the penitentiary, after all the prisoners are let out, there is a cell you can go in that very much looks like it could be the cell that Jason Todd was kept in when he was at Arkham, because of, like, images on the wall and stuff.
Drawings and stuff
and stuff on the wall. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But it's like...
Yeah, it definitely wasn't concrete.
Yeah, like...
But I'd love to believe.
I couldn't... Yeah, it's definitely a cool thing that was an Easter egg, but I couldn't find anything saying, like, a Rocksteady developer being like, oh yeah, no, we were playing that since the beginning, that's absolutely what that was. Because especially most, if not all, the inmates in Arkham were put there because of Batman, so it's very easily, like, all those drawings could have been made by any crazy person obsessed with Batman. And, just like, oh yeah, Jason Todd, But still cool. There are also a post-credit scene. Not necessarily... I don't necessarily know how it counts in terms of Easter eggs, but there are 3 different ones. Very similar, but it's completely random which one occurs. Like, difficulty doesn't affect it. Like, specific, like, game completion, anything like that does not affect it. But basically at the end, there's a crate of Titan that is just floating in the water, and a hand shoots out from the water and grabs it. That hand can either belong to Bane, it can belong to Scarecrow, or it can belong to Killer Croc.
That's right.
And it's completely random which one it is.
Yeah, we didn't know that there were... I didn't know that there were others until, like, on YouTube. I saw, like, Scarecrow did it, and I think for us it was Bane? Or that might be vice versa.
I think for us it was Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Because initially I thought it was just Scarecrow, just to be like, oh no, he's not dead. Because
I thought so too.
Because Killer Croc and Bane, it's like, I didn't assume either of them were dead. And it's like, yeah, unless you play the game more than once, you wouldn't know that this exists. Or like watched a video about it, whatever. And even then, if you're someone who, like, you played this game twice, you could have gotten the same one both times and think, yeah, that's definitely it. There's no extra thing. But I just think it's it's like a cool little thing.
It is cool. Kind of weird though. Like doesn't make much sense. I thought it made the most sense with Scarecrow because, like you said, you think he gets eaten by Killer Croc.
Like you think he's just dead.
Exactly, and you're like, all right, no more Scarecrow in Arkham. But then his hand pops up, and you're like, oh, he's alive. For me, I thought when I saw a video of somebody else doing it, Bane is the second one I saw. I thought like, oh man, is there a post credits where there's another Crate of Titan? And I'm like, well, I don't understand.
Yeah.
It just didn't make much sense.
Yeah. So,
trophies?
As I'm sure you know about me, I love getting trophies in video games. Yes. Achievements.
Yes, they call you the trophy gatherer.
I don't think they call me that at all.
No, but it's the opposite of hunter, because that's copyright.
Yeah, we can't say that.
No,
the trophy collector.
Right.
Yep, I'm a big trophy collector. And Arkham has 3, I feel like, noteworthy achievements that can be talked about. The first one being Free Flow Perfection, which requires you to perform a perfect combo, including all of Batman's combo moves. Now, a variation of this trophy exists in every Arkham game.
Yes.
In my opinion, this is the second hardest. The hardest being Arkham City. And then the easiest of the main 3 being Arkham Knight. Because, one, Arkham Knight, you don't have to do all of them. You only have to do, I think, 15.
Right.
And there's just so much. There's so many options.
Yeah, there's just too many
that you can like very much pick and choose the easier ones. This one, obviously, it's the first one, so I feel like iconic for that reason. Yeah. But looking it up, I realized it's actually a lot easier than I had always thought, because in this game, Batman only has 9 different attacks, which basically there's the basic punch, the counter, batarang, the throw, which is like a special takedown, the ground takedown, the cape stun, the special takedown, evading, and the back claw.
Yep.
The thing that to me makes this kind of more difficult than like Arkham City is Arkham City, you could basically not cheat, but cheap your way through it, because you could, in evading, the like technical evade in Arkham is when you like jump over a guy and like Batman like pushes his shoulder a bit and like it kind of like staggers that guy. In Arkham City, and I believe Arkham Knight, you can do that forever and your combo will never break. In this game, you can't do that.
Yes.
You have to hit a guy at least every once in a while to keep the combo going. So that's just like kind of an extra thing of you can't just go through and just, oh crap, what combo do I need? Yeah.
Right, yeah. In Arkham City, you can really just keep evading to think about, oh shit, what do I have to do next? Yeah. Like what do I have to, what have I already done?
Yeah, like because I do not have this one, but we do have it in Arkham City because we got the Platinum in Arkham City.
I didn't do this one?
No.
I thought I did.
No, you did, just spoilers, Noah did it in Arkham City. Never this one, just because I didn't care about trophies as much.
At this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Arkham City, literally, we wrote down a checklist, and I went along the checklist as Noah played the game, going through everything, because there are just so many moves. And we also, we would pause the game to look up the controls of how to do specific moves that we maybe couldn't remember. And, like I said, the evade just kept going. Noah would just evade and evade and evade. Well, I'd be like, okay, check.
Right.
Okay, we need this. Okay, so we got to do this. Okay, so you have to, press these buttons to do it. Yeah, that was a lot of work.
It was a hard trophy. It really was.
Very hard. And this one, like I said, I definitely think is easier just because there's Arkham City. There's at least double, almost triple, maybe the moves you have. But I think it's still very iconic just because of you got to be perfect.
Yes. When I think about the Arkham trophies, that's the first one that comes into my mind.
The next one, Free Flow Gold, which is achieve 24 medals on combat challenges. This is by far the hardest game to get all the medals. Because Arkham Knight, for whatever reason, you just get points faster. Arkham City has this nice handy thing you can do where, once again, by just constantly evading and just throwing the Batarang, you can build up your combo super high, and it takes a long time to kill people with the Batarangs because it doesn't do a lot of damage. So basically, like the method I used to get all the medals on the combat challenges was evade over a guy, tap L1, throw Batarang, evade, throw Batarang, evade, throw Batarang, and just keep doing that over and over, and you could build up a combo to like 100 because it does so little damage and it would take so long that basically you could get like the score you need in one round, almost. Definitely 2, so then the rest of it you could just play however you want, just don't die and you'll get the medals. But this game, you can't constantly use the Batarang to combo because, one, you have to hit someone with 3 Batarangs for it to count as a hit.
And it takes them down.
And it takes them down. And you can't just keep doing that. You have to, like, if you throw 3 Batarangs, kill a guy, you have to punch a guy before you can throw Batarangs again and have it build up the combo.
Because the 3 Batarangs is like its own little combo.
Basically.
Mm-hmm.
So with this game, like, you basically have to keep a continuous combo and not get hit for every round of an encounter. Pretty much you have to be like almost perfect. I was never good enough at the game to do it. I think I have the trophy for getting 8 medals, and then I stopped before even getting the one with 16 because I was just disheartened by the fact that I was like, I can never do this.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the one main series Arkham game, not including Origins. This is the only one that I don't have all the trophies in, and that is the reason why. And then the next one, it's not a hard achievement by any means at all. It's just one of my favorite named achievements of all time. Rope-a-dope-a-dope.
Mm-hmm.
Which basically, you have to string up a henchman using the inverted takedown and then drop him to surprise a second henchman.
Mm.
So basically, when they're hanging, which this is something I didn't know you could do until I discovered this trophy.
Mm.
But when someone is hanging with the inverted takedown, you can aim the Batarang, throw it, cut the wire, and they fall down.
Mm-hmm.
If you do this when another guy is nearby, it scares him.
Can you reuse that gargoyle?
Yes.
I had no idea.
No, this is, like, in Arkham City, it's so funny to me because you can use it. I did this in Arkham City a lot where you can literally use the same gargoyle if you keep cutting it. So,
and just pile up bodies underneath it.
And I'm like, eventually, like, by the 4th body, you think guys 5 and 6 would be like, okay, we shouldn't walk onto this gargoyle. This shit's crazy. But they keep, like, it doesn't change.
Right. Because that's how the maps are set up usually.
Yeah.
Like, there's that one perfect gargoyle that
perfect
they keep
one that
going
everyone
under.
will walk under.
And then, like, 5 or 6 that they never go near.
Yeah.
Or they walk, like, just out of range of the lethal takedown.
Yeah. But I love this trophy just because the name is so funny and getting it is funny because... like, you drop the guy, the inmate screams and everything. It's just a fun little moment.
And
it's just so fun to imagine just super serious Batman doing that for laughs. Just being like, throwing his Batarang, guy falls and being like, got him.
Right.
Because
it's just nice to imagine that Batman has fun with his job.
Yeah,
right?
He just, every once in a while, he's like, you know what, just drop this guy on this guy, get a little scare going.
Right.
Yeah. It's just fun. I just love it. I love the name. I love the act of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
Right. So, as far as DLC goes, I think the game had maps.
Yeah.
Like, for both versions.
I think every game had maps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But the PS3 version had the Joker as a playable character in the map challenges, and that'd be the Combo and Predator. You could be the Joker.
Yes. Do you know if Xbox eventually got that? I feel like they probably did.
I do not know, but they probably did. At least I hope so,
Like,
because that'd be pretty shitty.
PlayStation had it for free at launch if you just bought like a first copy of the game.
Yeah, but Rocksteady, they're owned by Warner Brothers, who has some kind of deal with Sony.
Yeah.
And so a lot of their games have deals with
Sony
PlayStation.
Gets first rights to DLC.
Right. And so his combat's pretty similar to Batman's, although his movements are more goofy and comical, and he like pokes guards in the eyes, or he uses his hand buzzer and stuff like that. Like, it's pretty interesting how they changed it up.
Yeah.
And then his Predator challenges, he sneaks around just like Batman, and he's taking out guards. He has 3 gadgets, which are specs. It's basically like glasses he puts on that gives him detective vision. and that's how he does that. But he can't move and look at it like
yeah.
Batman can.
And it's like first person too, right?
It is first person. Yeah, it's weird.
You do actually fight guards as the Joker. Like, it's the same maps, the
Yes.
same challenges, but it is
they're
not
guards.
just the same enemies, which is just an extra cool thing.
It is cool.
Yeah.
Yes, it is cool. I do love that. He also has a set of chattering teeth, and he sets it down, and then you control the teeth, and you can move it across the map, and then they explode.
Yeah.
And you can take out any number of guards that are standing. They'd be standing pretty close to it.
Yeah.
But, that's his set's kind of OP, because then he also has a gun, which is just a straight up gun.
You just shoot a dude.
He gets one bullet and one set of teeth.
Yeah.
And then other than that, you have to silent takedown or just beat people.
Which his silent takedown is also really funny, because the one specifically that I remember, I don't remember if he has any variations. He just kind of like hops like piggyback style on the guy, and as the guy's falling, he's like hitting the top of his head.
Yes, it's hilarious.
Really
All
funny.
of his takedowns are hilarious. Even though the Joker is in every Arkham game, Arkham Asylum is, to this day, the only Arkham game that has him as a playable character.
And which is a shame, because I love it.
Yeah, that is a shame. Because, they had, like Harley's story and Catwoman stuff, and, why get rid of him?
Yeah.
It just didn't make any sense to me.
Well, we're reaching, I think, the end of our Arkham talk.
Mm-hmm. Arkham Asylum.
Arkham Asylum talk.
We'll talk about Arkham many more times.
We will definitely do that. I guess really the last thing to talk about is anything you'd change about the game, anything you didn't like.
We talked about the boss fights that weren't, they weren't, like, terrible, but they were just a little bit lackluster.
I would say, I wouldn't say terrible. I would definitely say maybe bad. I didn't, like the Bane fight was a joke. The final boss,
I would say they were uninspired.
Yeah, the final boss specifically, like we didn't even talk about that. One of the worst final boss fights in any game ever, in my opinion.
It's very skippable.
Very skippable. I also just my thing. We talked about the Killer Croc thing.
Yeah,
I thought that went on a bit too long.
Really?
Like you have to get 5 of the plant spores things, and then run back. And I'm like, 5 to me was too much.
It could have been done better. You're right.
Yeah, I just thought it was a bit too long. Like maybe have like one less collection thing. Because it's also like
maybe just get 3.
Yeah, because it's also like they didn't change it too much.
I wouldn't really call that a boss fight.
Yeah,
no,
it's like a boss moment.
Yeah, I mean it's just like the Scarecrow.
If you're going by like boss fight in terms of like traditional like health and stuff, the only real boss fights are Bane, Ivy, and Joker. Because like Harley, you never really fight her; you just fight a bunch of goons. Scarecrow, like you never fight him; you're just like climbing and doing the bat signals. Croc, you're just sneaking through his lair. And Zaz, you hit him once, twice.
Right. All in all, Arkham Asylum is a game of iconic moment after iconic moment with revolutionary combat, traversal, stealth, world building, collectibles, puzzles.
Yeah, like there's really just like almost nothing bad that I can think to say about it. And what I didn't like are really just very small moments in the grand scheme of the game.
Right.
And very much improved upon in future installments.
Yes. So I feel like that's the worst thing I can say about Arkham Asylum is it's not the best Arkham game. Yeah.
I mean, it's really like, I don't like the boss fights, but that would never prevent me from playing through the game again.
No.
Like, I'll still play through that game and have a grand old time.
No. And we definitely suggest that anybody who hasn't played it, pick it up and play it. I mean, it's pretty inexpensive nowadays after a decade later. And
it's also like, even if you're not necessarily a comic book fan, just the gameplay of it. It's like, if you are a person who likes action adventure, you like fighting, you like stealth,
you like Batman,
you're going to like it,
Right. I mean, you don't have to be a comic nerd to understand Batman. He's pretty widely known. And
it's also, not mentioned too much, but there are the character bios, which, aside from just being interesting to like people who are like comic book nerds like us, to people who are not, that tells you everything you need to know about a character. This is their backstory. This is their shit. This is it,
Yep.
Everything you need to know about them to be able to play the game and be like, oh yeah, okay, I can follow this. So, yeah, really all-encompassing game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're someone who likes collectibles even, there's a lot of them. Yeah, so, thanks for listening to us ramble on about Arkham for a time, and we'll see you guys next game.